Reader. Short and sweet and to the point this month. I also feel like these openings have just been a way for me to push my musical tastes on you guys. Sorry, not sorry. Hey everybody, my name is Michael from Team Epic Reads and on YouTube is Michael Booklion, and we are doing the October book haul. That is right, summer is officially gone. R.I.P. Let's have a moment of silence for her. And now let's embrace the fall. Bring on the spoopy. How did I do that? So now's the part of the video where I start by talking about some of the books I read in the previous month. And by some of, I mean one single book. That's right, I only read one book last month, but it's okay because it was a fantastic book. What if it was one of my most anticipated books of the year? What if it's from two really amazing authors? What if I can't stop talking like this? What if it's actually happening? I'm just messing with you guys. The book that I'm talking about, of course, is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I think the cover of What If It's Us is fantastic because it's got the main characters, Arthur and Ben, right on the front. And this is from Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera, two totally amazing authors, as I said earlier. And it is a meet-cute between two boys in New York City who accidentally run into each other and think the universe wants them to be together, but then don't actually end up linking up or getting each other's numbers. And then through a series of events, they end up finding each other again, which is like, it's hard to find someone in New York City in general, to find the same person twice. I think the universe wants you to be together. But when they do end up together, things don't flow or go as well as they were anticipating, and so through a series of hijinks and things that have happened to them in the past, they try to make things work, but it doesn't exactly go as planned, and the question is, will they end up together? What if you have to read to find out? I overused that joke. Noted. Okay. And the next book I have here is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Taha Mafi. I am so excited for this. This is, of course, from the author of the Shatter Me series, and this isn't a fantasy. It doesn't have superpowers. It's a very grounded, down-to-earth story. It's her most personal story yet, and it's an own voices novel about a girl living in a post-9/11 where she's dealing with these stereotypes and prejudices, and she's put her walls up to try and protect herself, but there's also her falling in love for the first time, and there's also a lot of breakdancing, and it's a really fun combination, and I'm really excited for everyone to get to read this novel. I'm excited to read this novel, and yeah, it's got a really pretty cover too. This next thing I'm talking about is a little bit heavy. It is the Red Queen 4-book box set, which is coming out this month. I'll let you see all of the sides so that you can get the full idea of what we've got going on here. It is the combination of all 4 books sold together, and as a little heads up, we have a collector's edition similar to the Red Queen's collector's edition of Glass Sword coming out at the end of the month that you guys will get to see in next month's video. Next, we're gonna do a little bit of a poll. Everyone, please raise your hands if you were a fan of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. It's just me in this room, but I assume everyone through the computer screen is raising their hands too. I say this because the sequel, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, comes out next month. As you can see, we have Felicity on the cover, and that is because Felicity takes the lead in this novel. It's a new, totally fresh adventure that she's going through in her quest to become a doctor in 18th century Europe, which isn't really something that was possible for women back in the day. And it's also really fun because she's such an amazing, snarky, witty character, and Felicity identifies on the AOA spectrum, so that's really amazing to get to see from a main character. And of course, Monty and Percy are featured in this book too, and that's everything that everyone wants more of. So next up, I'm going to be leaning into the spooky aspect of the fall a little bit. October, Halloween, you know what I'm talking about. And that is because we have 2 books that were inspired by Slender Man. The first of which is Broken Things by the one and only Lauren Oliver. This is a very suspenseful novel about 3 girls who are just obsessed with this fantasy novel and obsessed with this world, and they wrote their own fan fiction in the world. And then one of the 3 friends, when they were younger, is killed, and the other 2 girls are assumed to be the murderers. Everyone thinks they did it because it happened in a way that's very similar to the work that they love. And they know that they didn't do it, but the world doesn't. And then years later, when they're teenagers, something is uncovered that reopens the case, and you have to find out what really happened to her. And so this is the perfect fall read. And that also applies to Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. Claire Legrand is the author of Furyborn, a fantastic fantasy that came out earlier this year if you haven't read it. And with this novel, she's leaning into horror a little bit more with a book about these girls that live on this island called Sawkill Rock. And it's this dangerous island where girls constantly go missing and everyone just assumes they fell off or something else happened to them. But we learn that there is a more mischievous and dark, ominous force at play, and these three girls sort of team up and are granted these strange supernatural abilities to try and take down this mysterious force that have been taking girls for all of these years. And I am all for the girl power and them taking down this ominous presence. So if you want to get scared, you've got multiple options this month. And then next up, we have When We Caught Fire by Anna Goberson, who is the author of the Lux series, so you know this is going to be a very swoon-worthy romance. And it follows a girl in 1871 high society Chicago who's sort of set up to have this engagement to this other man who's in high society, and she sort of has her life figured out for her until someone from her past comes up and makes her realize that she might want other things, and she puts everything at risk, and it inspires a love triangle, which might have sparked the Great Chicago Fire, if you guys have heard about that before. So things literally catch fire in this very intense romance novel. Are you tired of your fairy tales featuring princes who slay dragons to save princesses slaying there as damsels in distress? I'm so sorry, I've always wanted to live out an infomercial. Well, we have good news for you because Damsel by Alana K. Arnold also comes out this month. And this is a fairy tale fantasy about kind of what I just spoke about. A prince has to slay a dragon and save a princess if he wants to be the king. That's been the right of the land, and that's how things always happen. Except this time around, the girl who wakes up realizes that things aren't exactly happy after she is saved, and that the most dangerous thing that could have happened to her isn't being stuck in that dragon's castle. And that's all I'm gonna say for now, but you definitely have to check out this twisty read. And also, this cover is just absolutely stunning and beautiful, and I'm about to hit you guys in the face with it. So next up, we have This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story by Karen Callender. And this is this really cute romance novel about a boy named Nathan who he's really into screenwriting and movies, and he's really against love because his mom has been just ruined and torn up inside since his dad died, and he's seen too many real-life romances fall apart to think it's something that is for him. And his ex-girlfriend and friend is trying to push him back towards love, and she wants him to have someone and be happy, and he's like, no. And then his childhood friend Ollie shows back up, and Ollie's looking like a little bit of a snack to Nathan. And so Nathan has to reconsider these walls that he's built up around himself and whether or not he wants to try being with someone. And so you'll have to read it to find out what happens between them. The next book I have here is The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth, and I just want you to see like the effect that happens when I move this cover. It's so hypnotizing. And this is a Narnia-like story about two sisters who were surviving in World War II until they get transported to this fantasy land called the Woodlands. And they live there for a while, but then when they return to the real world, no time has passed. And one sister's like, I'm so glad to be home, this is where I want to be, but the other sister wants to return to the fantasy land. And so it's this really intense and heartbreaking tale once one of the sisters goes missing, and they have to figure out what happened to them and like the effect that being in this other world had on them. And I just want to show you the cover again. And then I have That Night by Amy Giles, which is this heartbreaking and beautiful book about dealing with grief and learning to cope and move forward. And it follows two teenagers in the wake of a shooting that affected both of their lives really strongly. And they haven't exactly figured out how to move forward until they meet each other. And they start out as friends and then become more. And through their relationship, learn how to grow and heal again. And I'm feeling things. And then next up, I have The Healer by Donna Freitas, which is very accurately named because it's about a girl who has this magical and mysterious ability to heal people and heal everything from an illness to a broken heart. And this ability has prevented her from being able to live a normal life, and everything is kind of okay until she meets this boy and he makes her want to live a normal life. And so she starts to question, like, what is this ability? Is it even real? And it's just this really touching story, and I love me the color purple, so I'm happy. And now we're about to enter Sequel Town, which is a town that I just made up for the purpose of this portion of the book haul, because I have 3 sequels here for you guys coming out next month. The first of which is Villain by Michael Grant, which itself is the sequel to Monster, which itself is the sequel to the Gone series. And this is about a bunch of teenagers who end up in this dome and develop superpowers, and then things happen in the original series. I don't want to spoil it for you, but this series is a continuation and follows specific characters from the first novel and what's happening to them years later, and you guys should definitely check it out. It's really intense. There's lots of superpowers. I really enjoy the series. The next sequel is One Giant Leap by Heather Kaczynski, the follow-up to Dare Mighty Things, and this follows the characters from the first book in their competition to end up in space, and the competition was more intense than they were anticipating it to be, and it's super dangerous, and it's the question of whether or not they will win and make it out there, and you guys definitely need to read the first book to read this one. And the last sequel that I have to talk to you guys about is Dagger and Coin by Kathy McMillan, the follow-up to Sword and Verse. And in the first book in this fantasy series, a society kind of fell apart after high tensions, and the ruling class fell, and people don't really know where things lie anymore. And so that's what's figured out in this book, with these tensions and with these prejudices, how society is going to be built back together. And it's super intense and it's really fun fantasy. And before I go, I want to talk about some books we got from other publishers that are coming out soon. The first of which is Boneless, Mercies by April Genevieve Tucholke, and this is a gender-flipped Beowulf about a group of all-female killers. That sounds super intense and cool, and I'm really digging the cover. And the next book I want to mention is Empress of All Seasons by Emiko Jean, and this is this really interesting fantasy series about this competition of surviving these magical rooms, and if you survive, you become the Empress of the land. And this girl enters the competition with this secret ability that makes it more dangerous for her to be there, were she to be revealed, and you guys will just have to read to find out who wins. So thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below with which books you're planning on reading this month, whether I mention them or not, and which books you think I should check out. Thank you again. My name's Michael Booklion. This was a lot of books. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I will see you next month. Bye, guys.